Thank you to Capcom for providing me with a review copy of Monster Hunter Wilds. Now on with the video. Now, I'll be upfront, I don't have a long history with the Monster Hunter franchise. My first experience was messing around with a friend's PSP copy back in high school. I dabbled in Monster Hunter World for a few hours, and now Monster Hunter Wilds is my first real deep dive into the series. If that makes you feel like my opinion holds less weight, I totally get it, but I also think that gives me a unique perspective, one that might resonate with newcomers or those curious about jumping in for the first time. And with that said, let me tell you right now, I loved Monster Hunter Wilds. The music, the characters, the vast open world, the epic monster hunts, the deep armor and weapon crafting, everything about this game clicked for me in a way I wasn't expecting. It's one of those rare games that genuinely made me happy just playing it. Now, is it a perfect game? No. But is it a good one? Absolutely. And from the perspective of someone who isn't a longtime Monster Hunter veteran, I think Wilds delivers on the hype and meets the expectations in all the ways that matter. Let's briefly touch on the story of Monster Hunter Wilds. Due to my agreement with Capcom, I'm limited in what I can share, but that also means you don't have to worry about spoilers. I'll keep everything broad and spoiler-free as best as I can. As expected, we begin by creating our own character, but what surprised me is that despite being a custom protagonist, they actually have some personality. This isn't just a silent avatar reacting to the world. They engage, express, and feel like a real part of the story, which is refreshing from other games. From there, Wilds introduces a cast of well-written companions, each with their own layers and distinct personalities. Most of them are actually genuinely likable, making it easy to invest in their journey. As for the overarching narrative, it's not a deeply complex or intricate tale, but it is focused, refined, and delivers exactly what it set out to. A straightforward story about monster hunters making a difference. You're not some morally gray anti-hero or ruthless hunter. You're here to help people, and Wilds embraces that heroic role. It feels great to play as the good guy, and the game does a solid job of reinforcing that throughout the experience. With the story covered, let's dive into what Monster Hunter Wilds does well, starting with its character creator. Right off the bat, the customization options are impressive. You can tweak just about every detail, allowing for a good range of unique designs. While it doesn't quite reach the depth of Dragon's Dogma 2, it still offers enough flexibility to bring your vision to life. Whether you want a rugged veteran hunter or something a little more out there, Wilds gives you the tools to make it happen, and the same thing goes for your Palico. Another fantastic addition to Monster Hunter Wilds is the Sacred, your mount. Not only can you rename these creatures to whatever you want, but they serve a much deeper role than just transportation. They are key to how you'll navigate the world, offering a much-needed boost to exploration. Sacreds can carry your items, hold a secondary set of weapons, and even automatically take you to your next destination. This is a huge quality of life improvement, and honestly, it made me feel like Wilds respects my time a lot more because of it. Whether I'm gathering materials or just soaking in the beautiful scenery, having a Sacred around lets me enjoy the journey without worrying about tedious backtracking. This brings me to the world of Monster Hunter Wilds, which is nothing short of stunning. From vast desert landscapes and lush green forests to frigid mountains and winding caves, the variety of biomes is impressive. Each area feels distinct, and the beauty of the environments kept me engaged, never once feeling fatigued by the locations I was exploring. What I loved most was that I never had to stay in any one spot for too long, which kept the experience fresh and exciting. The different biomes also host a variety of unique monsters, which not only made each area feel more alive, but also added to the thrill of exploration. Every location felt meaningful, with new challenges and rewards waiting around every corner, making each hunt feel like a real adventure. Now let's talk about the most important part of any game, the gameplay. Monster Hunter Wilds offers a robust selection of 14 weapon classes, each with its own unique playstyle, abilities, and combos. Whether you prefer the raw power of the greatsword, the versatility of the sword and shield, the precision of the bow, or the complexity of the charge blade, there's something for everyone. The full list includes greatsword, longsword, sword and shield, dual blades, hammer, hunting horn, lance, gun lance, switch axe, charge blade, insect glaive, light bowgun, heavy bowgun, and bow. Yes, all those. Realistically, there was no way I could master every weapon class during the review period, but I focused primarily on the dual blades while experimenting with the bow. The dual blades are all about relentless, high-speed attacks. Their demon mode significantly boosts your attack power but drains stamina over time, making it crucial to balance aggression with smart stamina management. Once you get the hang of when to activate demon mode and when to pull back, the DPS potential is incredible. One of the best aspects of Wilds is the ability to switch weapon classes at any point in the game. You don't have to rebuild your character from scratch, just equip a new weapon at your tent or the forge, and you're good to go. This is yet another way Monster Hunter Wilds respects the player's time, which is a reoccurring theme throughout the game. Another valuable tool at your disposal is the Slinger, which allows you to fire a variety of ammunition at enemies. This is especially useful during hunts, as you'll often find different types of ammo scattered throughout the environment ready to be used to your advantage. Alongside the Slinger is the Hook Slinger, essentially a grappling hook that adds even more versatility to your hunts. It lets you retrieve items from a distance, meaning you can stay on the move, especially while riding your mount without constantly stopping to gather resources. In certain environments, the Hook Slinger also doubles as a mobility tool, allowing you to swing across gaps and traverse tricky terrain with ease. These additions don't just feel like gimmicks, they actively enhance the flow of exploration and make the world feel more interactive and alive. Before diving into the variety of equipment and other activities Monster Hunter Wilds has to offer, let's talk about that battle system, one of the game's most intricate and layered mechanics. Combat is highly dynamic with mechanics that shift based on your chosen playstyle. Since I focused on dual blades, my experience was centered around fast, close-range engagements. Movement feels fluid and responsive. You can walk, run, pivot, and dodge swiftly, allowing for aggressive, high-speed combat. One particularly useful addition is the ability to call in your Sacred mid-battle, which adds a tactical layer for players using ranged weapons. Whether repositioning, creating distance, or quickly escaping a dangerous situation, having a mount at your disposal makes long-range combat feel more flexible. Combat in Monster Hunter Wilds is deceptively simple at first. You have two primary attack buttons, triangle and circle, with certain moves requiring a combination of both. But once you start digging into the mechanics, there's a lot more going on under the hood. For one, you have Focus Mode, which lets you lunge towards monsters and help set up big damage combos. This becomes even more important when targeting wounded areas, as landing follow-up attacks on these weak spots can massively increase your damage output. Your Slinger adds another layer of flexibility, allowing you to fire throwing knives or any additional ammunition you find scattered throughout the environment, of which there's plenty. It's a small but effective tool that can help apply pressure or stagger an enemy at the right moment. Stealth is also an option. Sneaking up on a monster allows you to land a powerful strike, giving you an edge before the fight even starts. And then there's one of my favorite mechanics, mounting monsters mid-battle. Jumping onto a creature lets you deal massive damage, but stamina is your biggest enemy here. Eventually you'll be thrown off, but what makes this system even better is the ability to adjust your positioning, letting you reposition to target weak spots for extra damage before you're inevitably bucked off. It's these layers of movement, positioning, and offensive variety that make combat in Monster Hunter Wilds feel so rewarding. There's always an opportunity to push your advantage if you know how to take it. Moving on to equipment, Monster Hunter Wilds lets you wield one of 14 weapon types with the option to carry a secondary weapon for added flexibility. Whether you prefer raw power, speed, or range precision, your loadout plays a key role in how you approach each hunt. Armor is split into 5 core pieces: head, chest, arms, waist, and legs, each offering different defensive stats and resistances. On top of that, you can equip talismans and mantles, which provide additional buffs to enhance your hunter's capabilities. Then there are decorations, which can be slotted into armor and weapons to grant extra skills. These modifiers allow for deeper customization, letting you fine-tune your build to match your preferred playstyle. We'll go over smelting and the forge later, but for now, there are the core systems that shape your hunter's gear. Now let's talk about monster hunts, how to prepare, what to expect, and everything in between. First things first, don't forget to barbecue. Yes, you heard that right. Before heading into battle, you want to fire up the grill because cooking meals isn't just for show. It provides essential buffs that can make all the difference in a tough fight. And here's the best part. You can whip out your trusty barbecue spit anytime, anywhere, even in the middle of a hunt. I know this because I've done it. Accidentally, of course, right before getting absolutely wrecked by the monster I'm engaging in battle with. So while you can barbecue mid-fight, maybe don't. And in other cases, you can also cook at pop-up campsites. However, these sites offer more than just a place to prepare meals. They allow you to customize your camping gear, change the appearance of your campsite, adjust your tools, and even serve as a convenient fast travel point. Keep in mind, these campsites will require repairs at times that use points that are accumulated by exploring the game and completing quests. Ingredients for meals can also be purchased, scavenged, or even fished, which means yes, fishing matters. Thankfully, the fishing mechanics are straightforward and not a chore, making it an easy way to gather supplies while taking in the scenery. Cooking and preparation aren't just side mechanics. They are woven into the core loop of hunting, and they will give you an edge if you take the time to do them right. With that said, you'll also be spending plenty of time at the forge, crafting weapons and armor for both yourself and your palico. Monster Hunter Wilds sticks to the classic weapon tree system, letting you upgrade and refine your gear as you progress, while armor can be strengthened using armor spheres, which are obtained by using the smelting foundry to keep you on par with the ever-growing threats you'll face. One thing Wilds does exceptionally well is streamlining the upgrade process. You can see exactly where each weapon tree leads, making long-term planning easier. But if you're not the type to dive deep into upgrade paths, the forge and upgrade lists clearly show what's currently craftable. At a certain point, the game even offers recommendations, helping steer you towards viable choices without overwhelming you with endless options. It strikes a solid balance between depth for veterans and accessibility for newcomers, making gear progression feel intuitive rather than intimidating. Before you dive headfirst into monster hunting and side quests though, it's worth talking about the game's online component, which fundamentally transforms the experience arguably for the better. At the heart of this system is SOS flares, which let you call for backup at any time, summoning either real players or NPC hunters to assist you. This expands your party to a maximum of 4 hunters, making even the toughest fights more manageable and more chaotic in the best way possible. That said, due to my early access period, the player pool was much smaller. In all my hunts, I only managed to group up with real players twice, with NPCs filling the gaps the rest of the time. While this naturally made hunts easier, it also kept things fun, especially for those who prefer tackling monsters with a team. Lobbies can hold up to 100 players, but a hunt remains limited to 4-person squads, ensuring that every battle still feels tight and tactical rather than turning into a massive free-for-all. Now, we can finally talk about the real meat of the game, hunting monsters. At the start of a quest or side quest, you can have your mount follow the trail automatically by pressing up on the D-pad, letting you focus on preparation. At this point, you can use binoculars to scout monsters from a distance, gathering intel on their behavior. If you want to stay undetected, the ghillie mantle lets you temporarily hide from monsters, adding a stealth element to tracking. You can also mark your target using paint pods from your slinger, ensuring you never lose track of them mid-hunt. Once the fight begins, your priority is identifying weak points. When wounds appear, you'll want to target them aggressively, or better yet, enter focus mode to land a precision strike, dealing massive damage and setting up devastating combos. Cool side note, other monsters can join in the battle, targeting monsters and naturally you as well. Monsters in Wilds are far from passive punching bags. When overwhelmed, they will retrieve to another part of the map. This is your cue to mount up, chase them down, but this short break is also a crucial window for your preparations. This is when you should use a whetstone to sharpen your blade, which thankfully is infinite, restock from your mount's inventory, or switch to your secondary weapon, craft essential items including potions, which the game can auto-craft for you so you're never caught off guard. Speaking of convenience, Wilds also features an incredibly user-friendly action wheel that lets you instantly use the most optimal healing or status recovery items without forcing you to dig through your inventory mid-fight. Now, once you've weakened the monster, you have 2 options: slay it and harvest its parts for crafting, or capture it using a capture net. Either way, you'll secure valuable loot at the end of the quest, feeding into Monster Hunter's signature gameplay loop. And make no mistake, this loop is the core of the experience. If you enjoy the thrill of tracking, battling, upgrading, and doing it all over again, then Monster Hunter Wilds has a lot to offer you. But of course, naturally, we have to discuss where Monster Hunter Wilds falls short. Now, there's no doubt about it, Monster Hunter Wilds is a great game, but that doesn't mean there aren't areas where I think it could have been better. Jumping into Wilds as someone who isn't deeply familiar with the franchise, I was immediately hit with a flood of mechanics, systems, and information all at once. You get text tutorials, sure, but there's not nearly enough hands-on guidance to help players truly understand how each system works in practice. Some mechanics are explained well, but others you're left to figure them out through trial and error. Between the sheer number of items, crafting, the forge, 14 different weapon types, and an extensive selection of armor, the amount of choice is fantastic, but the onboarding isn't. I spent a good chunk of my early playtime uncertain about key decisions, only gaining confidence as I played more and naturally became familiar with the mechanics. I wouldn't dock points from Wilds for offering tons of depth, but I do wish there was a better way to ease players into everything, or at the very least a more structured option for newcomers who might otherwise feel overwhelmed. Another gripe I have is the 25 item limit in your pouch. Look, I get it. Some people love crafting, resource management, and meticulously packing only the essentials before heading into a hunt. But personally, I'm not that person. The only thing worse than limited inventory slots is a weight system that slows you down. And while Wilds doesn't go that far, I still found myself frustrated by the need to constantly manage my item loadout. I know inventory limitations are a core part of the Monster Hunter experience, but for me, it just felt like an unnecessary restriction in an otherwise expansive and player-friendly game. And finally, we need to talk about the performance. I played Monster Hunter Wilds on a PS5 Pro, and naturally, the expanded hardware means you get a solid range of graphical options. You have 3 main rendering modes to choose from. Resolution mode, which prioritizes higher resolution, enables ray tracing, and improves lighting, reflections, and refractions. Balance mode aims for the best mix of resolution and frame rate while still offering ray tracing. Frame rate mode targets 60 FPS but disables ray tracing to ensure smoother gameplay. On top of that, you have 120Hz support, which can improve motion clarity, but comes with a warning that resolution and image quality may be automatically reduced. There are also frame rate cap options. 30 FPS cap only available in resolution mode, 40 FPS cap only in balance mode with 120Hz enabled, 60 FPS cap only in frame rate mode, and uncapped FPS. It's an impressive amount of choice, and I spent a good amount of time experimenting, but in the end, I always found myself coming back to frame rate mode capped at 60 FPS. While I appreciate the flexibility, resolution mode and balance mode felt disappointing. The biggest issue being texture poppin'. It was immersion breaking seeing objects suddenly snap into detail, completely undermined the benefits of higher resolution and ray traced lighting, and when paired with 30 FPS, it made resolution mode borderline unplayable for me. So for me, frame rate mode at 60 FPS was the clear winner. Sure, you lose ray tracing and a bit of resolution, but what you get is a stable, fluid experience that feels significantly better to play. I'm sure PC players with high-end builds won't have this issue, but on PS5 Pro, texture poppin' was a real problem, and it made choosing the right mode a no-brainer. Now let's wrap this up. Who is this game for, and should you buy it? Monster Hunter Wilds is for, well, pretty much any fan of the franchise. This game likely will not disappoint you. As for those of you who are new or on the fence about buying this game, it is a phenomenal experience, one with tons of content, a story that took me 16 to 20 hours to complete, and a lot of endgame content. I believe this game to be worth the asking price, and that it will certainly deliver a satisfying narrative and gameplay loop that you may look back on later in the year as possibly one of the best games. This game has some of the most epic battles with some of the most grotesque looking monsters, and it's all just so awesome. I really wish I could have shown you some of these battles, but following the review guidelines and preserving the surprise this game has in store is just so much more important. But in the end, Monster Hunter Wilds offers a fantastic blend of intense combat, rich exploration, and strategic depth that will keep players coming back for more, whether you're a series veteran or a newcomer like myself. The game delivers an experience that's both rewarding and accessible, with tons of content to keep you hooked. The thrilling monster battles, stunning biomes, and the satisfying gear progression loop ensures that every hunt feels like an adventure worth embarking on. Yes, there are some hiccups, like the steep learning curve and the limitations on item management, but nothing here detracts from the sheer joy of the hunt. The performance modes, while a bit of a mixed bag, still allow for a solid experience, especially for those who prioritize smooth gameplay over visual fidelity. For newcomers, it's a bit of a trial by fire at first, but once you get a feel for the mechanics, it's a game that rewards patience and commitment in spades. And for longtime fans of the series, it's everything you love about Monster Hunter and more, enhanced by a beautifully crafted world and a suite of quality of life improvements. In short, Monster Hunter Wilds is a game that will resonate with many players for its epic battles, immersive world, and deeply satisfying progression. Is it perfect? No, but it's pretty close. If you're on the fence, I'd say take a chance. The world of Monster Hunter Wilds is waiting, and it's well worth the time.